So today is launch day for the new Intel Core series of CPUs with the Intel Core 5 245K, Intel Core 7 265K, and Intel Core 9 285K. And today I have the Intel Core 7 265K. That's going to be a total of 20 cores, so you have 8 P cores, 12 E cores. There's a base frequency on the P cores of 3.9 gigahertz, a base frequency on the E cores of 3.3 gigahertz, and then the E cores can boost to 4.6, with the P cores turbo boost to 5.4 with a max turbo frequency of 5.5 gigahertz. Now we went with the Intel Core 7 because we wanted to make a gaming PC, but we wanted to do a thematic build. So everything here is actually going to be an all-white component because we want to do a white and blue kind of ice theme. And I'm actually really excited about this because this color set is going to match what Intel's known for, the blue and white. So pairing off with this new CPU, we have the Aorus Z890 Elite Wi-Fi 7 ICE gaming motherboard. This is a very nice looking white motherboard, so this is really going to bring this whole thing together. We're going to pair that off with DDR5 RAM from Crucial at 6400 megatransfers, 32 gigabytes for this kit. And then we have a 2 terabyte WD Black SN850X NVMe SSD. Now, this is a black SSD, but it's going to be under the heatsink, so you're not really going to see it anyway. And then for the GPU, we went for the Zotac Gaming GeForce RTX 4080 Super. I really like the way that this one looks, and with the Zotac Gaming logo here in the blue LED, it's going to look really, really nice. And then bringing the rest of the white and blue ice theme together, we went all in on NZXT. So we have the NZXT H9 Elite case. This one's going to be in all white. We're going to pair this off with the Kraken Elite 360 RGB AIO cooler, and this is going to have a nice LCD screen on there, so you can keep an eye on your thermals or anything else that you want to put on there. And for the fans, we went for 2 of the blocks of the F360 RGB core fans from NZXT. I'm actually really excited about this because it's one solid fan block that you can just install, so it's super easy. One block, one cable, really easy to set up. And then for our power supply, we have an NZXT C850 Gold. This is an 80 plus gold power supply, fully modular, and white cables as well. So all in all, everything I think is going to come together really, really nicely for this build. And then when we're done with the build, we're going to put the Intel Core 7 through its paces. We're going to do some benchmarks, we're going to do some testing, try out a couple of different games, and see how it really performs. But first, let's dive into the build. My favorite part about building is all the prep work that's involved, because there's a lot that you have to do. All these boxes have to be opened, everything has to be set up, so just bear with me. All right, so I went ahead and prepared everything, and I have everything set up right here. This Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7 ICE motherboard, I mean, this just looks amazing. This is a really, really nice looking motherboard. I'm actually really excited to put this together because I think this finished build is probably going to be one of my favorite ones to date. This is going to look really nice, really clean. Everything about this board is going to look great. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the CPU. So I have the new Intel Core 7 265K here. So this is a new socket, LGA 1851, Intel Gen 14. That was all LGA 1700. So a completely different socket for this one. So it's not going to be compatible with the older motherboards, only with these new Z890 boards. So just lift the arm up here. Just lift this wide open. And installation, same as ever. The notches are in a slightly different placement. Now they're on the right side of the CPU. So you can see that the notches just line up in the socket, just like that. Drops on in, and super simple. So we can put that on, bring this arm down. That's gonna pop right off. It's scary every time, but it's okay. All right, next up, we're just gonna move on to the SSD, which is gonna be right under this heatsink. So we have this Western Digital Black SN850X. This is a 2 terabyte, so that's gonna give you more than enough space to put all your games and your operating system. Heatsink, there's a little latch right here, so this just pops right off. This is a Gen 5 slot with a Gen 4 SSD, but frankly, you're never gonna saturate all of that, so it's gonna be just a perfect pairing, really. And I like that it has the quick latch here. So I just took the plastic off on the adhesive, so that'll kind of keep it down. Just match that up, press it right in. And you just push down, move the latch in place. That's it, it's already secured. Then there's a little sticky here, so you can just pull this right up. And this little notch is just gonna slide in right here where it says Gen 5. And you can just press this down because the way the latch works is it actually allows you to put the pressure down. It'll just slide over and you just slide right back on. So these SSD installations are just getting easier and easier. All right, last thing we're gonna do is the RAM. So I have 2 sticks right here. No RGB on this crucial RAM, but I like that it's just gonna be a nice clean look. Pop our slots open right here. So A2, B2, line that right up. Firm pressure. There you go. There's that little click. Same thing for the other slot here. Just push it right down. And that's why you put it on the box, because that firm pressure you got to push down. You don't want to break anything. Cool. Motherboard's all prepped. So CPU's in there, SSD, we have our RAM. So we're kind of good to go. We can get our case going and we can get this into the case and then start prepping all of the rest. All right, so the motherboard's all set. Next up is gonna be the case. Now I'm gonna move this over here and Sean's actually gonna help me get this set up. Ooh, this is a big guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Look at that. Wow.
It's a gorgeous looking case, that's for sure.
I'm actually really excited about this. This looks really, really nice. And it has the fan controller in already. We have a couple of fans already installed as well, but I'm gonna swap that out with the Core fans. It's gonna be sweet. Well, thank you.
It's got that double chamber too as well, which should really help with putting it all together.
I like double chamber cases so much more. Like, it's just easier to deal with. It's easier to build with.
I was not expecting to fall in love with them as I have. I built my own recently, was planning on just doing a very simple case, and then was like, oh wow, this double chamber makes things so much smoother to build, and it's just less cable management. It's less annoying fiddly bits of trying to make it all fit. It's so nice.
Oh, this is way better. All right, so I got the motherboard all prepped here.
What are we doing with it?
So I've got Intel Core Ultra 7 265K.
Okay.
So that's gonna be pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to testing this out though. Like, this is just, you know, day one. Let's see what we can do with it.
I mean, there's a promised ton of changes that I'm really curious to see what ends up happening with. We got a whole bunch of new efficiency stuff going on with it. The additional NPU should make AI work even better than it ever has before.
How many tops?
13 on the NPU itself. I believe there's an extra 8 coming along if you have a chip that has an onboard GPU, and an extra 15 just from the CPU itself.
So this guy's got the iGPU, so that's what, 36?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, not bad. So then I was planning on doing some gaming with this.
Okay, yeah, what do we, GPU, that sort of thing?
Right over there. Check it out.
Ooh.
4080 Super.
Clearly keeping with the white build.
Got that blue theme.
Yeah.
Check out the back too. This looks really nice.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
That looks really, really nice.
Yeah, that looked really good, especially like the fan down approach to it too.
So, you know, I figured I wanted to go with the Intel colors.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, that was just the easiest way to go. And I got the motherboard in there, and this one's pretty easy to just line up. I got it on the post.
Yeah, wow, that went in so much easier than I remember. My first build was probably a decade ago at this point, and I remember struggling to get that to fit.
My Meshify C, that's a tight fit. I think I still have scars on my fingers. Meshify C with the, oh my God, with the Noctua dual tower cooler.
So are you using a big chunky fan on this one, or are we going more in AIO?
I'm gonna go AIO, so I've got the Kraken over here.
Okay.
I'm gonna set that guy up 360 rad, so 3 fans on there. And then I'm thinking I'll put the Core fans here, Core fans down here. I might just take this out. And I might even just swap this back fan because the RGB is on these fans here. For So I might just swap it out to the back and then use that there.
So this might be jumping the shark a little bit, like getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Do you know what colors you're gonna be working at with the RGB yet, or are you still kind of working that one out?
I think all blue. I want this to be ice. I want this to be like Night King. Lich King, Arthas, like blue ice themed.
Oh, what is that?
Oh, that's kind of cool. So there's 2 different panels at the top, and it has this clear plastic on there. So this is to mount your rad. So if you go with a 240, it'll fit this, but then the one that's installed here is a 360. But then because it's on this like clear plastic, I don't know, it just like looks cleaner.
It does. I like that
see-through.
You can get rid of one of like, just not have a big open space on your radiator, because I've got a 240 on mine at home.
And then this would just be wide open.
Yeah.
So this actually controls your airflow a little bit better since this is sectioned off. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we have the plate from the top here. So I'm gonna prep this with the rad and the fans. So what else can we expect for the new Intel Core 7?
So there are 3 big changes that are coming with this generation of Intel processors. The first one, the most obvious, is going to be an NPU getting added to all of the processors. That is a neural processing unit, which will help out a ton with your AI processes. The big thing there is it comes with about 13 TOPS, so you're getting a good chunk of change off just the new NPU alone.
Right.
Additionally, if you have a GPU that ends in K, not KF, and F indicates there is not an onboard graphics card, means that you're going to get an extra 8 TOPS from that, and then there is an inherent like 15 TOPS that comes from just the processor itself. So you're seeing like 36 TOPS approximately on each one of these new chips, which will help out a ton if you're doing AI stuff.
Right. I mean, with local AI, that's going to go a long way.
Yes, if you're running your own LLM or anything like that on your own computer, it's going to help out a ton to make things run a little bit more streamlined and keep things a little bit cooler, because that's the other big thing, is that there's a huge improvements on efficiency. Intel is continuing with its, P and E core style of splitting those processes. But obviously they've worked a lot more to improve how much power you need on these chipsets. It's something like 165 watts less than previous generations. So that should help out a lot, especially if you're looking at something with a build where you don't want to use too much on your PSU or anything like that.
Right. And I think this is going to run pretty efficient, pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with looking at the AIO that you got set up there, this thing's gonna run like a dream for sure.
This is gonna run really, really well.
The last big change that I will mention, of course, is the one that most people are gonna notice is the second they go pick up the chip, which is the naming convention change.
Right.
Gone are the years where it was the Core i5, whatever you might have. They're now all Core Ultras. They've gone from the i5 to Core Ultra 5, Core Ultra 7, Core Ultra 9, Core Ultra 3,
right.
200, and this is the 65K. So it's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit less just a slew of numbers thrown at you. So you should have a better understanding of what you're getting at right off the bat.
14900K was getting a little bit much.
Yeah, and the 14900KS, it just, they kept adding more to it. So this is going to really make it easier to be like, oh, I'm looking at a 265K full stop. Like that's what you're looking at there.
Right.
It'll also keep it easier, more in line with Intel's mobile chips. So if you're looking at a 265K, it's going to be a similar naming convention whether you are on a desktop processor or a mobile processor, making it easier to compare. Oh, this laptop is running this chip, this desktop's running this chip. It makes your decisions a lot easier. Tons of changes, all looking like it's going to make for an absolutely great generation for Intel.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to testing this out. I definitely want to try out a couple of different games. We'll do a Cinebench, we'll do like a 3D Mark, see how this performs. But look at that, I like this a lot. Oh, you know why? Because I know why. Whoops. All right, so there's these screws on the side. So the metal part attaches like that, and it attaches through the plastic. So I didn't tighten that part. So the top attaches to this metal frame, and then this is what attaches to the acrylic frame. So this will keep it in place.
Won't have it won't be falling out on you while you're mid-game.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty tight squeeze. New generation, new socket, LGA 1851. And I think that usually implies when it's like a land grid array. So LGA, then 1851, that should be how many pins there are. Do you want to count?
Well, you already have it nicely tucked in there. I don't want to undo all your hard work. Like,
that's what we should do with new hires. Like, can you count how many pins are on this? Look at that. So we got everything set up here. I've got the CPU in the socket. I got the cooler ready. I'm gonna lay this down so we can show it on camera. Look at that. That's a chunky boy.
Yeah, that's a big AIO. And that's a LCD screen on it and everything?
Yep. Yep, full LCD. So this is gonna look really, really great. And the cool thing is, yep, it looks like the cables actually run in here. Yeah, there's a cable in there.
Oh, nice.
So all of the controls, everything should really just be running through this, which is going to run through up here and then pass through on the outside. And the nice thing is thermal paste is already pre-applied. So in order...
The years-long debates of how much thermal paste needs to be applied is no longer a question. It's just you put it on.
It's already there. All right. Oh, that's a good amount. What I like about this too is even to put it on, you have to take this off.
Mm-hmm.
So I have proof I didn't leave the sticker on. I haven't done that yet. I'm very proud of that fact. It has not yet happened. I've done other things, but I haven't done that one yet.
Yeah.
Like just a couple of twists just to like get it in place.
Yeah.
And then you go for the star pattern, make sure it's applying pressure equally.
I'm always amazed. AIOs, again, I've talked about this a little bit, like back when I built that first PC, I looked at an AIO and was like, that is terrifying to me, like conceptually. Why would I want water running through my PC? It has to be just really, really hard to set up, hard to build, hard to do anything with. And AIOs they have them so streamlined now that they're almost easier to put in than air half the time, just because you don't have as much of a big chunky radiator right in your face when you're trying to put it on.
I love my Noctua dual tower.
Yeah.
But that has sliced my fingers so many times.
Oh yeah.
Like so many times. This looks really clean.
It's a gorgeous build.
Check it out.
That is stunning.
I'm very excited about this. So now CPU's all wrapped up. So I think after I get the build checked out, I'll do some benches.
Awesome.
I'm kind of looking forward to what comes there. I'll send them your way so you can post them on the article on MC News.
Absolutely.
And yeah, this is going to come out really sick. I'm actually really excited about this. And I'm almost there. And thank you for getting the cables ready for me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's the next step is we're going to run power cables, get that all set. Oh, it even came with the white 12-volt high power cable. I was actually worried about that if it was going to come with that because the adapter.
Oh yeah.
The adapter's black. So I was like worried that I would have to run back to the store, which is always nice having a microcenter near you, but it came with what I needed.
Very nice.
So this is gonna look sweet. Cool, well thank you for the help.
Awesome, yeah, thank you. I always love hanging out, talking about builds, seeing what's going on. And I mean, this thing is looking absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really excited to do a little bit of a write-up about all the parts over on Microcenter News. Talk a little bit about like why we ended up with this build now that we have a good visual for it.
Yeah, this is gonna look so good. All right, Arthas, let's get ready to wrap this up. With the AIO all set, the rest of this is actually gonna be pretty straightforward. I have this cable here. This is going to be for the AIO, and there's the SATA power, there's the USB connector, this is the connector for the fans, this is gonna be for the pump. So this is actually pretty straightforward to plug in. Right up here, there's a port where this goes in. Easy peasy. So I also have cables for the motherboard, CPU power, I have my motherboard power. What I like about this power supply is it comes with this really nice, carrying case. There's actually a nice little added touch. Keep everything in there. I need my SATA power. Cool, so the next thing we're gonna do is get the rest of the cables running to the motherboard quickly. So we'll do the front panel cables. We have 2 USB headers that we're gonna be plugging in. We have our audio down here. I already ran the cable for the pump, so that's gonna be for the AIO. And then we have motherboards connected, CPU power is connected, so that's all pretty straightforward. There is a controller on the back of this case that's already built in. So I took out the 3 fans here because I want to replace it with the solid fan block over there. So now I'm just gonna run just a couple more cables. All right, next up we have our power supply. So I'm gonna get that in place. Everything that I need for the power supply is basically run already. I also have a SATA cable that's gonna go to a PCIe as well, so that's all set. And then we have our, let's see, we have our 12-volt high power cable. So I'm just gonna run this through the side here and get it in place for when we get the GPU going. What I like about modular power supplies is that you only take what you need and you're not stuck with any extra cables versus a traditional power supply. Although semi-modular, you get the cables that you need for the CPU and the motherboard. But full modular, I find it to just be easier, cleaner, and I'm kind of lucky that we went all the same brand for this one because everything's matching. So the white on white with the case and with the power supply matches perfectly. Power supply is right up here, so it's easily accessible to everything. So everything's set, did the cable management in the back. Now I'm just gonna get the GPU in. So I'm gonna take the PCIe brackets out. I also replaced this rear fan with one of the other fans that was here in the front. So you'll get some added RGB there as well. So you really get the full RGB effect all across this build. All of the fans, AIO. This is gonna look really, really good, especially with this GPU here. I really like the way that this GPU looks. This is gonna look really good. We have this nice blue effect here on the back. Let's get it in. There we go. All set. And last but not least, 12-volt high-powered connector, which I can just run straight in here. There we go. So, everything's all set. I'm gonna take some of the last little stickies off. Look at that. I'm actually really excited about that LCD as well. I think that's gonna look really good. I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna get this closed up. Let's see if we can get this to post. And then we'll get Windows installed and let's really take this Core 7 for a test drive. All right, everything's all set. Now we're gonna fire it up, make sure it posts. Ooh, look at that. Right out the gate. This is already looking fantastic. And you know what? I haven't done the fun part yet. Let's just take this right off. That's always satisfying. And I'll take this off as well. Oh, look at that. Got a good post. Look at that. Cool. Everything's working wonderfully. Everything is there. See our RAM, CPU, everything's all set. I mean, just with the base color that's coming out of this right now, this like kind of just cool white color, this already looks great. I really like the blue that's on the Zotac Gaming logo here, but this is clean, this is nice. Let's get this fired up. I'm gonna get Windows installed. I'm gonna get the drivers installed and the NZXT software so I can change some of the colors here because I really wanna go for that ice blue. And then let's try out a couple of games. Let's put this CPU kind of through its paces. Let's see what it can do. Well, everything's all set. We got Windows installed a bunch of games, and did a couple of tests. But before we dive into the benches, let's talk about this system. I mean, this build, it came out really, really nicely. It's always nice when you have a planned theme in mind and you get to see it actually come to fruition. This is better than I ever imagined. I'm very happy with the overall build quality of this. I'm very happy with the overall look. All of the white components match really, really well. It's definitely something, if you're looking for white components, you can definitely tell that sometimes they're just little different shades of white, but everything across the board here is actually really cohesive. So that makes it just look even better. So I'm very happy with the way that this came out. Now for the benches that we did, we're really just looking at this exact configuration and this system, because when you come to a microcenter, There's so many different options of what you can build, and so we just wanted to showcase what an Intel Core Ultra 7 paired with a 4080 Super is capable of. So let's talk about some of the benches that we got from this system. First, with Cinebench single core, we have a score of 1,961, and then Cinebench multi-core 29,256. With 3D Mark, Steel Nomad 6,658, and then Time Spy 19,115. Now that's just benchmark points, but let's talk about some gaming. Cyberpunk 2077 at 1080 Ultra with ray tracing on, 102 frames per second. 1080 Ultra with no ray tracing, 152 frames per second. Stepping up in resolution to 1440 Ultra with ray tracing on, 98 frames per second. And then 1440 Ultra with ray tracing off, 137 frames per second. Then going to 4K Ultra with ray tracing on, 75 frames per second, and then 4K Ultra with no ray tracing, 69 frames per second. Looking at Returnal, 1080, 138 frames per second, 1440, 138 frames per second again, but then 4K, 97 frames per second. Looking at Total War Warhammer 3, which is a more CPU-intensive game, 1080 with the battle benchmark at ultra settings, 211 frames per second. 1080, the campaign benchmark at ultra settings, 161 frames per second. 1440 battle bench at ultra, 148 frames per second, and then 1440 battle bench at ultra, 140 frames per second. Then going to 4K, Battle Ultra, you get 78.5 frames per second, and 4K Campaign Ultra, 76.9 frames per second. So this game actually handles a very graphically and CPU intensive game that really a lot of systems struggle to run at 4K. Looking at Black Myth Wukong, we have 1080 with cinematic settings with ray tracing on, 75 frames per second, ray tracing off, 111 frames per second. 1440 cinematic ray tracing on, 77 frames per second, and then cinematic with ray tracing off, 107 frames per second. 4K cinematic with ray tracing on, 67 frames per second, and then 4K cinematic ray tracing off, 87 frames per second. And last but not least, we have F123 1080 Ultra at 176 frames per second, 1440 Ultra settings, 157 frames per second, and then 4K Ultra, 102 frames per second. So what we're seeing across the board at 3 different resolutions is very good gaming performance. This handles really, really well, and I'm really happy with the way this configuration performs. But don't forget, this is not just for gaming. This is also great for content creation or 3D modeling or anything else that you want to throw at this. This is a top-notch system that can handle basically anything. So remember, if you have any questions about the Intel Core Ultra 7 or any of the other Intel Core Ultra CPUs, stop by your local Micro Center and talk to one of our knowledgeable associates, and they can help you come up with a build as good as this. And make sure you check our website, microcenter.com, for any stock and availability of the Intel Core Ultra CPUs at your local Micro Center. And if you don't have a Micro Center near you, make sure you comment #IWantAMicroCenter near me.